How the Dice Fell. Flint Daniels and the Trees of Knowledge. Part 2.
When last we left our fearless explorers.
They had just crashed into the planet of Flint. As far as they could see in the nearby, the planet had these 80-story tall growths that looked roughly kind of like baobab trees. That's what I used as like the
Giant
picture.
baobab trees.
So they're like
bulbous.
bare, and then they
Yeah.
have like a bulbous top.
Yeah, it looks like a root vegetable.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I should give the same warning if anyone on the internet is listening to this. I'm blatantly ripping off a book called Beyond the Ice Limit. So if you're going to read that book, then you should read it before you listen to this and skip this one. Though I also realized, actually, that I'm not exactly ripping it off. This is almost more like fan fiction.
Yeah.
Because this could actually be in continuity with that book. Like, that book could have happened in the same universe. In fact, I've decided it has. So now that whole series of books is now officially in continuity with our role-playing.
Expectations have been set.
So anyway, it's just because I'm not
Yeah.
exactly ripping off necessarily the plot so much as just the things that exist in that book exist in this and they could exist in both. So they do.
So
Anyway.
yeah. So this planet, as we've been sent here because this planet had a sudden, over the past 10 years, surge in growth of the biomass and the population, all that.
Right.
And they seem to be in a golden age all of a sudden. And they're also at roughly the same tech level as Earth. So we were sent there, make peaceful contact, trade in technologies. If they have something we don't have, and we don't have something they don't have, it's good for trade. Just generally don't suck and make up for what we did last time.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some names.
And so yeah, we land. Well, we crash in a farmer's field.
As you usually
Yeah.
do.
Yep.
So you failed the
Of course, yes,
And they
because
spent some time deciding what to do, and then they finally went out there.
and
Chumley in the front, and they first thing they got, there's just this alien farmer standing there, and he looks basically human, except he has little pointy things all over his ears, little like weird little.
he's
whatever.
a Star Trek alien essentially.
Yeah. So he's just standing there with his arms crossed and like, well, I never thought I would see aliens. This is real interesting. And so they engaged him in conversation, and he was real keen to talk to these aliens.
Invited us to dinner with
Yeah.
the family.
Sounds like a terrible one.
We were like, this is great, friendly contact, and I'm sure there are no ulterior motives or secret mysteries or anything. This is a nice planet where things are going well.
And they had a bit of discussion with him about like whatever leadership, and he said, "Oh, I'm sure the government has noticed you crashing here, and
They've sent their
I'm
folks
sure
over.
they'll send people to come talk to you, no problem. Here, you can just come have supper with us.
Yep. So we
And
went
we'll have roast gleegaglock."
Yeah.
So you look up what gleegaglock is, some sort of vegetable, some crop.
Yeah.
So he brings him back and into the house, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Marie, we got some aliens here. Can you put on some roast gleegaglock?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I've already got some stuff cooking." And he said, "You better tell the government that there's aliens here." "No problem, I already called them." Whatever.
Yeah.
So
Intensely suspicious.
we confirmed that Gleegaglock isn't like sapient because we've had problems with that in the past.
Yeah.
We weren't going to be mysteriously eating
Sapient cabbage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no surprise cannibalism this time.
yeah.
We're wise to your ways.
So they have a
Never
nice
make
supper
the
with
same
the
mistake
farmer and his
twice,
wife
yeah.
and their family,
Yeah.
and it's quite nice. The food that they serve, they don't mind them scanning to make sure that it's like human edible.
Yeah.
It is human edible, but it's not necessarily like the most human appropriate. It doesn't taste very good, but it's to humans, but it's okay enough that they can eat it to be polite.
Yeah.
And they have supper, and eventually, as they're sitting around after the meal, there's a knock on the door, and this military officer comes.
It's like that military guy at the door. It's like,
Yeah.
excuse me, do you have aliens here?
Yeah, greetings from our planet. We're hoping that you could come with us back to the city to meet. We've got set up to meet with the premier of our
regional
of our region,
Yeah.
and he's kind of nervous because diplomacy is not his strong suit. It comes out over role playing. But he's friendly and he doesn't try to force them or anything. And they're done their meal and they go with them. They have these sort of sci-fi Hummer things that they take them in and.
Hover Hummers.
Hover Hummers.
Yeah, Hover Hummers. I remember that being a thing we said a lot because it's a great thing to say. Hover Hummers.
They're kind of, he's kind of nervous, but he's fine.
Yeah, we were sort of reassuring
say goodbye to the farmer and his wife.
All right, we're not horrible aliens here to eat your brains or anything. We're here to.
It's the best roasted glop they'd ever had.
Yeah. We are friendly aliens who are here to make peaceful contact with your people.
Yeah.
And
it's getting even worse.
Well, I'm sure they were probably like, oh, the aliens are assuring us that they're peaceful aliens here to make contact.
It's funny. You guys will find, everyone, especially after the last few adventures, is expecting something terrible. So the more things are not terrible, the more paranoid they get. But that's more out of character. Like everyone has to keep remembering. Actually, there's no reason to be super suspicious, but just everything is nice.
Like the last 5 places they went, everyone tried to murder everyone all the time. See, if I went into work Monday through Thursday and it was like a death race every day on Friday, if I come in and somebody's like, "Would you like some pancakes?" I would be very suspicious.
Well, it makes sense though. It would also have to be. It would have to be different people. It'd be like if. Like 4 to 5 days, you met a different random person at the mall. Yeah. And for 4 days, they tried to rob you and beat you and leave you in an alley. And then the 5th day, you met a really nice guy. He might be a really nice guy, but he might be a little on edge.
Suspicious. I do not believe that.
This is the thing. I mean, my character Pill already assumes this about the universe all the time anyway.
True.
However, he also believes that there are victim races out there as well. There's the destroyers and the horrible menaces beyond the stars, and there's also the races that get wiped out by them.
The food.
And so he's just assuming, it looks like maybe these are victim rape people. You are victim people. Yes. Yes. We can make peaceful contact with you because you are natural victims.
Yeah. So they bring them into the city, and it's getting towards evening now. The city is really impressive. It's full of huge high-rises, but it's also, like the countryside, it's full of these huge baobabs, these 80-story baobabs with skyscrapers interspersed between them. Yeah. And the baobabs are, they don't have bark like a tree. They haven't seen them up close, but they kind of have a reddish brownish color. They don't look exactly like a baobab tree. They just have the shape and they're 80 stories tall. And so they have this city full of skyscrapers interspersed with these 80 story tall baobabs. And they take them to the center. It's all very impressive. And they go to this place where they've literally rolled out the red carpet, except they're aliens, so it's a yellow carpet.
And it has funny ears.
Yeah, they all look like humans, but they have these ear polyps.
Are they dangly or are they spiky?
They're spiky, but they're not hard. Okay. They just stick up.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're like multi-elves.
Okay.
Yeah, they might be
made out of cartilage.
They might either be cartilaginous or they might just be small enough that they don't. No, I guess they'd have to be cartilaginous because I imagine them they're like this big.
Yeah.
So because your ear has cartilage. Yeah. So it's just like ear cartilage. Yeah.
Yeah, the only one of us that ended up studying their anatomy in detail was Flint Daniels. We'll get to that.
All right. So they come and there's kind of an entourage, but the most important people are the premier himself. That's Premier Adolef, and
he was so nervous.
And yes, he was yes, I'm welcome. We're here to welcome you to our planet. It's so great to meet an alien. That was sort of his manner.
See, Phil was totally not getting a threatening vibe from these people. They're just these
victim race.
They're victim race. He's like, oh god, these guys are gonna get wiped out at any minute now, so we gotta
get this tech.
Watch out.
Yeah. Phil's always looking at the sky.
Yeah,
Adolef.
Okay.
And then also with them was the Premier's secretary Nadia, like that, but with the ear cartilage.
Yeah.
And she took an immediate interest in Flint Daniels, and he and her.
Yeah.
Space Ranger.
Exactly. These are Kirks, so yeah.
Oh, here's the farmer.
Right. Yeah, please meet you.
Yep.
And then in addition in the entourage was Zora.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I
liked her.
She's the head of the military, and she was very suspicious and she was
Yeah,
watching
like-
the party closely and making sure that they didn't get up to
Yeah.
Only
anything.
one who's remotely trustworthy.
Pill really liked her because she was trusting. And he was like, "You're the only intelligent person on this planet, as far as I'm including my own party members." But yes,
So they took them. They showed them around the skyscraper, but it was getting late. So they had a little an event on the rooftop that they clearly
Yeah.
they clearly thrown together really quickly, but it was super nice. Like they spared no expense. They laid out appetizers, and they'd actually like scientifically laid out the different appetizers based on like their chemical components, so that you could like use them like a map. Like you could try a thing, and if it was disgusting to you, you could like move here and like kind of like hot and cold your way
Yeah.
to like the food that you loved. So they'd like
That's really smart.
and so eventually, like they did find things that were actually pretty good to humans. So they, and I don't know if Pill just pretended the same things or
Yeah.
if he just liked other stuff, but they clearly were trying to make it as nice as possible.
Can Pill taste?
he can, but he usually chooses not to because that's ridiculously risky,
Right. So he just puts it in. He just
Yeah.
puts it in his fake mouth and
and stores it for later ejection.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's all I do. But
yeah, yeah.
Different process.
He uses a different ejection port. But yeah, and I think I remember saying that I was doing that. It was,
What does Pill eat?
nutritive fluids that are synthesized by his suit from raw material, etc., etc. It hasn't really come up all that much. So,
Yeah, so that's basically the first night. So a few different things happened. We did a bunch of role playing. Someone tried to talk to Zora, and she was
that was me.
very, very grumpy and suspicious. But
I diplomatized.
I don't know that she really said anything.
No, I basically agreed with her suspicions. I was like, "You were right to be suspicious. The universe is a dangerous place."
Right.
They asked the premier about the baobabs, and he said that basically they could go, like they asked like if they could study them or whatever, and he's like, oh yes, we've got a center where we study that sort of thing, so
Yeah.
we could go on a trip there tomorrow. And so that was their plan for tomorrow, is going to the Baobab Research Institute. And they did ask him about them, and he said that they all seem to think the baobabs are great. Like
awesome.
they've really spread over the last 10 years. They came out of the ocean. They've spread over the last 10 years, and they have been a huge boon. The planet used to be like in constant wars.
Now everyone's united in peace.
Everyone's united in peace. There's no more
Yeah.
poverty.
I need to. We missed
fantastic.
a thing. We missed a thing. A thing we noticed very quickly upon landing on this planet was that there was some sort of jamming field
Oh yeah.
that was messing with our sensors and our communications. Let's rewind back to the farm here. Just fill this in really quick. There was some sort of like interference, and the farm had like a Wi-Fi hotspot that was managing to overpower the interference in like a very short range.
Right.
So we were able to get into their internet and stuff, and they do that all over the place. They have all these contact points scattered everywhere with ultra high power to overcome the interference.
Did they have Facebook?
I don't know.
I mean, they're
But-
more advanced than they're like the same
Yeah.
level of advancement as Earth in the setting, so they're more advanced than us. So they have internet and everything.
Yeah.
But they don't have like a ubiquitous kind of like cell network because of this interference. They
Yeah.
basically have a wired network with Wi-Fi hotspots everywhere. And in the city, there's Wi-Fi everywhere,
Yeah.
but it's all from local nodes that only cover like 100 feet.
Yeah, and the interference obviously is coming from the baobabs. We figured that out really quick. So yeah, we figure that the baobabs must be like emitting some kind of field that is making everyone peaceful. And we're like, this sounds like it would be awesome to install on Earth.
Yeah.
Get
Peace trees.
peace trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
we're,
yeah, so-
we're
and-
genuinely like, maybe this is a good thing. These peace
And-
trees.
put those on that art planet.
and when the party
Yeah.
brings that up, they're like, "Oh, that sounds great. We could give you a seed because these things are great. They revolutionize our planet. We don't have poverty. We don't have war. Our planet is great now."
Yeah, and we're like, okay, this is going to be the thing we're going to bring back. Is
Some-
the baobab seed.
Someone did
Maybe
ask.
throw those at the Great Leviathan.
Well, actually, carry on.
Well, someone asked, like, is there anyone who doesn't like the baobabs? And they kind of clammed up, but it was like, well, it's impolite to talk about because they're,
It's like they have a disability.
it's like they have a disability, and it's like we're making fun of them.
Yeah,
It's very rare, and
Yeah.
this is not polite to talk about. That was that.
Yeah.
Flint Daniels wanted to get a tour of the city with Nadia, so they left the party and went off into the night.
Yep. He was Flint Danielsing it up with Nadia.
Yeah.
I think he did that overnight as well.
Well, there was 2 nights. So the first night they just
okay, right. The first night
whatever
was more innocent.
Yes, they walked through the city and discussed stuff, and he asked her about the Baobabs, and there's nothing really new to learn, just that they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And so the first night passes, and the next day they go to the Baobab Research Institute, which turns out it's like there is like a back area, but like the main thing is it's kind of like a museum, like almost like for kids. It's like for kids, but like kids and adults. It's like
Tellus World of Science.
It's like Tellus World of Science,
All
or even like the Baobab Museum. There's like plaques that talk about, what it was like before the Baobabs, what the Baobabs do, how great they are, and they went through the whole museum and learned about how they came from the sea and how they were discovered and how they brought seeds and how they've spread and and how they're great.
But it turns out they don't know an awful lot.
Didn't seem like they had a lot of actual like scientific information.
Yeah,
so
they're like playing at science with these things.
They asked to go in to the back to visit the Baobab, and
they were reluctant.
The premiers, they clearly got the impression that if it was basically anyone else asking, they would have said no, like absolutely not. Yeah. You're not allowed to. But because you guys are like alien visitors, they really want them like roll out the red carpet, do everything awesome.
Yellow
like,
carpet.
The yellow carpet. They're like, okay, yeah, you can. Oh, sorry, no, that wasn't to go in the back. That was actually when you guys wanted to touch them. Yeah. But still, whatever. That is all related. So they went into the back and talked to the actual scientists.
Yeah. And I should note, everywhere we're going, Hill is walking behind Lieutenant Anthony and constantly scanning her to see when her mind gets taken over. and he's very open about it. He's telling Ampule, like, okay, you walk ahead of me and I will note when your mind is taken over.
And they go in there, talk to the scientists about like what they're studying, and it becomes clear that mostly they're just like looking up stuff from books of what people have previously studied. Like they're not actually studying the Baobabs. They're just writing research papers on what other people wrote about the Baobabs. Like they're not actually studying it at all. And someone asked, I don't remember who it was Hill, asked to like scan it up close, and that was where they were hesitant, but they did let them. And when you got up close, you could see that the Baobabs are made of like, they look like, they're more straight, but it looks almost like, how threads form into strings, form into ropes. It looks like it's that. Like it's like millions of little fibers made into bigger fibers, but they're not so much twisted as straight. And it's clear that's where the EM field that's blocking everything on this planet is coming from. At this point they scan them and discover that they are silicon based. Yeah. They're mostly silicon based, and I don't know what else they find out at that point.
We do some talking with them about their apparent lack of scientific acumen. And we get a little more about the history of when the Baobabs showed up and how it affected their society. And basically, the Baobabs showed up 10 years ago, and about 5 years ago they became widespread. And that was about when new science stopped being done, and when global peace happened. So Pill gets really excited, because the thing he's most concerned about is the Epiphany, which is a mimetic virus that supercharges the scientific process. It makes you super advanced really quickly. And here we have some sort of potentially mimetic mind radiation thing that retards scientific progress. And he's like, this is fantastic. I think these humans really should distribute these on their planet, and let's see what happens, see if that protects them from the Epiphany. We could have a counteragent here.
And just in general, the party comes away thinking about, this seems to have brought global peace, but it has like stifled science. And also, that's one thing Daniel's found with Nadia. There's no like cultural and entertainment events. There's like no plays. There's no movies. There's no anything like that. And there used to be, but there isn't. And when asked what they do, they're like, well, we just go to the park and hang out, talk to each other, play. We don't really need cultural events. So it seems there's like the culture has sort of stopped, but they don't care. Yeah. And the science has sort of stopped as well. Yeah. Though they are keen to trade tech with that's one thing they are really keen on, which is one of the mission objectives. So for the rest of the afternoon and day, basically that's sort of what happens is they go away, they talk to scientists, they trade tech, they trade discuss stuff.
Yeah.
there's a lot of different discussions
And
going on.
we're still really thinking that it would be a good idea to bring baobab seeds back to Earth. You know, even knowing all this stuff, because we know all this stuff, we're going into it with our eyes open. We could manage the effects, study them, you know, before that. You know, it's going to work out. You just have to be careful with this stuff.
Right. So the day wraps up.
Everything's going fine.
And this is where they had the banquet where they like made food that they had learned from like scanning them and what they picked that was like that was suited to humans and was actually quite good, except for pills, which they like their scans were weird and they ended up giving like a weird cross between what he would like and what a human would like, and it was like bizarre, horrifying sushi or something.
Yeah.
But whatever. Night falls. Flint Daniels spends the evening out with Nadia again. And then in the night, suddenly the doors of all their rooms, they're staying at the nicest suites, the fanciest hotel in town. The doors of all their rooms get kicked open, and these insurgents burst in, and they say, with their guns drawn at them, and they say, "Come with us now!" And everyone sort of freezes for a minute, isn't sure what to do. Daniels is there, and of course, so is Nadia.
Bill instantly reacts. We're all in rooms by ourselves.
Except for Flint.
Except for Flint. But the thing about Pill, he has this special ability. When none of his party members are watching, he can do superhuman feats of strength and agility.
That's right, yeah.
So he instantly reacts by jumping out the window. It's closed, but he smashes through the glass and jumps out the window. We're on the 80th story, but whatever. And so he's clinging to the outside of the building, and there's a very confused insurgent that had just burst in on him.
So,
but everyone else is just like,
It's not sure. Like they try to like talk a little bit to see if they'll come with them willingly, but when they don't come immediately, the leader just says, "All right, just stun them." So they just start into shooting.
Combat begins.
And
that was the end of that session.
Combat ensues. Well, no, we actually played out the combat.
Oh, did we?
Because remember it was.
I thought we did it at the beginning of it. Oh, right, it was at the end.
It was intended. I actually intended to be overwhelming odds that they couldn't win, but I didn't take into account the fact that them all being in different rooms would make a huge difference to the combat, and so they actually won. That's okay because I had a plan for. If they win, they get a perk, and then so they took out the insurgents, and the leader, as like most of his fellows were down, called, "All right, this isn't working. Just use the gunship. We'll have to risk the gunship." Yeah. And so they just used the gunship to like blow the top off the thing and then do a big stun grenade. Yeah. And everyone got stunned. And then everything faded to black, and that was the end of that session.
I like it. Escalating. Come with us, please. No. Come with us or we'll shoot you. No.
Lots of shooting ensues. We're winning! Yay! Yeah. Well, time to blow up the top of the building.
Yeah. You don't seem to understand player characters. You are coming.
Actually, Pill almost got away.
Yeah, I was actually concerned when he jumped out the window because I'm like, he's going to split the party, and there's no way to get them back together again after this.
Yeah.
I guess you maybe could have followed the gunship or something. Because the reason they didn't want to use the gunship straight up is that it made them very visible and easy to track down.
Yeah.
But
an Apache helicopter in New York is noticeable.
I'm sure it's a hover ship or something.
If I had climbed down the building and got away, Bill would have got away. But instead, he climbed around the building to go in the window of one of his party members to help them. So by stopping to help these hapless humans,
terrible mistake.
Well, I wanted to see what happened when they brought the baobab seeds home to Earth, and they can't do that if they get wiped out. Also, I need them to fix the ship so I can get off this benighted planet to the other benighted planet that they live on. So yeah, I kind of, need to stick with these people. But anyway, that was the end of that session. We're all unconscious, and we're going to start the next session, waking up somewhere. Personal log, Lieutenant Ricardo Pill. Encryption key, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is fascinating. I was initially extremely concerned about epiphany infection on this planet, but it seems like these baobabs are almost the anti-epiphany in some way. They retard scientific and cultural progress. I would very much like to see these seeded on Earth to find out what they do to the humans.
Medic officer's log. What are you doing in my room? Get out! Where's that rocket launcher?
Personal log. Flint Daniels, Space Ranger. The planet Glynn is warm, soft, and inviting. And the people here are friendly. They've formed a symbiosis with a type of giant baobab, which seem to have lithic origins. Very strange. I find myself saddened by the thought that, had it not been for the Leviathan, the peace they experience here would be entirely laudable, and I might even be tempted to spend time here. However, the galaxy is a dark and terrible place, and we cannot hide behind the false trappings of peace when all are called to join together and save our universe. Upwards and onwards, to adventure, to danger, to challenge, to reach the unreachable star.
Engineering Officer's Log. Sabine here. Yeah, these trees, man. These are interesting. They seem to have caused the civilization to become really boring. And yet they're really okay with that. And I mean, it's really good to strive towards peace and, not killing each other, especially for the pointless reasons that most people do kill each other. But they've really stagnated because of it, and I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings about it. Is it better to be boring and yet happy and peaceful and not have any advancement? Or is it better to continue growing and yet live in a world of danger and pain? It's not something that's easy to answer.
Lieutenant Chumley, Security Officer's Log. Well, when we landed here on Glyn, it appeared to me that these Glenayans had been beat all hollow. I figured it was all dicky with them. It was pretty apparent, and I was trying to think of a way to inspire some sport, but it was like milking a pigeon. Anyway, finally we got back here, and I got my boots off and was just getting to the spicy part of sleep when I realized it won't fadge. No, indeed, it's all a grand whisker, because these milling coves barged in while I was just getting to the best part of sleep. And, well, obviously you can imagine, it's rum with them now. And then, Pill barged in through the window. He said he was standing on a ledge, but I know for a fact there was no ledge, because of course I checked my window and what was outside of it before I went to bed, and I'm quite puzzled about that. I need to think about that some more. Maybe I'll ask Ample about it, or Dr. Yoon. I just don't understand can he fly? Does he have a jetpack? Could he have a hidden jetpack? Is that a thing? Do aliens have hidden jetpacks? But I don't want him to know that I know he's an alien, so... Well, whatever. Long and short it is, it's rum with them.